Stand by, stand by.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
That just comes with learning to trust with each other and getting that bond. And I think now he's starting to trust me, look at me more often. And I'm just doing the right things, and I'm moving faster, quicker. I'm learning the pace of the offense, and just to be a professional. And I think once I get that down, and we can start connecting more on offense.
Sammy, how we miss you already. Boy, it's going to be strange watching Clemson's offense trot onto the field without Sammy Watkins out there. And there's video of him up at Buffalo from Monday making a superb one-handed catch, and the folks up there are going nuts. But people around here have seen that for the last 3 years. We know what Sammy Watkins can do. It should come as no surprise to anybody when, A, he makes a spectacular catch, B, he blows by an NFL cornerback, or C, he just runs over somebody. He can do it all.
Yeah, that catch was amazing too. It's worth a Google if you haven't seen it. It was against air, I will say that. He was really guarded by anybody, but he slipped and gathered himself, but was unable to get to the spot where the ball was going to be, so he just stuck his hand out there, and it was like stickum. It was like Velcro was on his hand, and you can hear everybody just going, wow. I mean, there wasn't anybody in the stadium,
right?
But it was just, so it's a bunch of NFL players, and that's the best reaction when you see a bunch of professionals go, whoa, and that was impressive. That was definitely worth the Google today when somebody told me to look that up.
So who do you think has the best chance to be? Of course, they're on opposite sides of the football, but they're in the same conference. Wouldn't it be wild, Pro, if Sammy won the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC and Clowney won the Defensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC?
That could be very interesting. I mean, with J.J. Watt on one side or rushing up the middle, I think they're going to flip-flop him a lot myself. He has a good chance of doing that because I think Houston is going to bounce back very quickly this year.
Well, I mean, both teams don't really have a quarterback. That's what worries you at this stage in the game.
You're not big on E.J. Manuel? You don't think he can get it done?
I got to see a little bit more, and I'm not going to put it all on him last year, but you're now in this day and age, really, even as a rookie, people expect you to do things. And he had a big game against the Panthers where he led them down the field and brought them to a victory. Now he has a big-time weapon out there. And with Clowney, the learning curve, now he's standing up more. I don't know how I just can't see him standing up. It just doesn't seem right. He seems like
I think
he needs his fingers in the dirt and send him after the quarterback, but we'll see how it all works out.
Just fine.
Those guys over there know, Romeo Crennel, he's done it a few times, so I guess.
But I thought it was important.
His opinion counts more than mine.
I thought it was important, especially in the Ohio State game, that Sammy showed that he could successfully handle press coverage, because that was a question mark. Because I remember the first time he played against Florida State and South Carolina, when he got pressed, he didn't get open. He had to show he could go against press coverage.
Of course, keep in mind that first game against South Carolina, he was playing with a bad shoulder and dropped a potential big play. Might have been a scoring play, but he was playing with one shoulder. This is Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, the state man Graham Pope. We got a lot for you tonight. We'll be right back.
Stand by, stand by.
Phone number here on Sports Talk tonight, 800-956-7266. Love to hear from you tonight wherever you are dialed in around the state of South Carolina, listening to one of our fabulous radio stations, perhaps listening to us on our audio feed at sportstalksc.com, also our video feed as well, sportstalksc.com, the website. Perhaps you want to hit us up on Twitter at SportsTalkSC or on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. And, of course, tonight we're going to kind of wrap up things from the ACC Media Days, a couple of more coaches to hear from, including the new coach at Louisville, Bobby Petrino, now that he is back in a position of influence and interest to those of us in this area. Let you hear a little bit from him. Also, Al Golden, we'll hear from him too, head coach of Miami, since Miami was picked to win the Coastal Division and face Florida State in the ACC Championship game. That's coming up tonight, along with your calls, 800-956-7266. So let's kind of talk about, too, as we move forward here, from a Gamecock and Tiger perspective, depending on which side of the aisle you happen to be on. How are you feeling now about these opening games, now that the word is official that defensive end Jonathan Taylor has been dismissed from the Georgia football team? That's 4 starters now from their defense gone from last year for various reasons, and they're all really good players. So if you're a Tiger fan, are you just kind of sitting back and thinking, you know what, we're going to have a pretty decent chance to beat these guys, because you got to believe your defense can do a good job against Georgia's offense this year. Secondly, with the losses that Georgia is suffering, maybe you think that the offense will have some success in whatever game plan they come up with for Cole Stout, Deshaun Watson, and the rest. They'll be able to kind of put maybe 3, maybe 4 touchdowns on the board, and that'll be enough.
Well, they're playing in Athens, though, and it's the first game of the season, and that is a very tough place to play. As you know, Corn, anybody that's been to Athens, Georgia, it's a very daunting home field advantage, and it'll be right up there with the Williams-Brice experience, right up there with the I'd put it above the Tallahassee experience. I mean, Georgia fans are, even by SEC terms, pretty darn rowdy, and it's a season opener, and there's a lot on the line there, and it's easy to make a mistake, and I think that's what can happen in these games. That's why the home field is an advantage for that team. I think we saw it when Clemson played at South Carolina last year. They're in the game in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden they start making goofy mistakes, and you wonder, do those mistakes happen? Do you muff punts if you're at Death Valley? I don't know. I think you're more pressed to make those plays. So I still think, despite all these losses, with it being the first game and it being at home for Georgia, that's a pretty huge advantage. Still a pretty hard lean towards Georgia right now.
The other thing I'm thinking about, Corn, is this. How do you prepare the opening game against Georgia's defense? Does looking at last year's film help you at all, or do you watch more of Florida State, because that's what you're going to see? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to use that scheme, and I'm not so certain that Georgia's not a better defense just because of who they got rid of.
That's a great point with Pruitt there, because I was not a big Todd Grantham guy.
But they're still going to base themselves out of the 3-4, aren't they? And Taylor was a big part of that interior.
I think it's not
on their defensive line.
It's not a true 3-4, not in the sense of, say, an LSU or the Dallas Cowboys 3-4. A lot of teams run that variation of the 3-4. They're multiple, but I still think they're going to have a 4-man front at times at Georgia, and Pruitt can come from all that. I mean, he's the best defensive coordinator in the country by a lot of people's
You would
accounts.
take him over Lorenzo Ward?
Well, I mean, by a lot of people's, he's up there.
You would take him over Brent Venables?
I would probably take him over Lorenzo Ward.
Yeah.
I mean, he's and that's no knock on Lorenzo, who's done a great job, but you got a bigger body of work with Pruitt than you do Lorenzo Ward, and even Brent Venables is doing a great job at Clemson, and he was doing a solid job at Oklahoma too. It's no knock on those guys. I think really highly of them, but I think Pruitt is just in a different category in and of itself, and that's why Georgia scooped him up. I mean, from a team that won the national championship last year, no less.
Well, I'll say this. Georgia has suffered some major personnel losses since last season on the defense, but as I look at their depth chart, they're still pretty salty on defense. If they go with the 3-4, you've got James DeLoach, who's a junior, 6'3", 265 at tackle. The nose is Mike Thornton. He goes 6'1", 290. He's a senior. DeLoach is a junior. The defensive end is Sterling Bailey. He's a junior, 6'3", 282. You've got Toby Johnson at defensive tackle, 6'4", 305. The linebacking core I love at Georgia. I think their linebacking core might be as good as anybody's in the country when you put them all together. Leonard Floyd, Jordan Jenkins, Ramik Wilson, and Amarlo Herrera. They've all played a lot, and they've all made a lot of big plays for Georgia. So they're very solid there. The secondary position, Damian Swan's an all-SEC player at corner. Aaron Davis is a redshirt freshman, untested. And the safeties are Corey Moore and J.J. Green. Tramel Terry may break in there, too, at one of the safety spots. So they're still going to be pretty good on defense. Just think how much better they would be if they had Taylor, and if they had Shaq Wiggins, and if they had Trey Matthews. And who's the fourth guy that was dismissed? You remember off the top of your head? There was a fourth player dismissed as well off the defense. Those are three of them I can think of.
I'm not so certain that Georgia's best defense early on is handing the ball off and just not letting you have it.
Could be. But you know what? Running against Clemson is not going to be easy for Georgia. They are not going to be able to line up and knock Clemson off the ball. That is not going to happen. Uriah LeMay was a wide receiver, so that's not who I'm looking for.
James DeLoach is a linebacker.
James DeLoach, was he dismissed from the team?
I believe so, yes.
I don't recall that name. I gotta go back here and look it up. I don't recall DeLoach being. I could be wrong.
I got Trey Matthews, Jonathan Taylor, James DeLoach, and Uriah LeMay were the ones arrested on theft charges, and that was back in March.
Right, but I don't think LeMay's gone.
Theft by deception when they were double cashing the checks.
I don't think DeLoach is gone. He might be suspended, but I don't think he's gone.
We'll double check it.
Yeah, they've got their recruits getting in on the act now. It's just hard to keep up.
Well, they start them early.
Yeah, that's
Georgia.
part of the official visit. Okay,
right.
Now go ahead and this is what it's like to get arrested here in Athens. Meet the police. This is going to be your cell.
Well, they should get to know the local police because they're going to run across them a few times during their time there in Athens. All right, let me get to a couple of other things, and we'll get to your phone call. Sidney Rice announced his retirement today.
At 27.
27, it's time to kick back, go back to Gaffney, sip on some sweet tea, sit on the porch,
7
look at the big peach.
Injury-filled seasons. Congratulations to Sidney, 27 years old, announced by the Seahawks. Of course, they had cut him in a cost-cutting move that cleared $7.3 million back in February. He returned to the team in April, signing a one-year deal. But he's been beset with concussions and knee injuries. The one thing there's a lot of things to remember about Sidney Rice, but I remember when he was coming out of high school, the recruiting pundits saying, this guy's too slow. He'll never be able to play in the SEC, ACC, and South Carolina was wasting a scholarship on him. He was a basketball player, and I think he pretty much proved everybody wrong.
Very good player. Very good player. One of the all-time greats at South Carolina, despite the fact that he only played 2 seasons, really.
Mm-hmm.
And, injuries, even at South Carolina, part of his story, broke his thumb the 1 year. He tore his knee up his true freshman year in pregame warm-ups against Georgia.
Right.
And that was a freak thing and maybe a precursor for things to come. But when he's healthy and on the field, one of the best receivers, some of the best hands in the game.
One of the few receivers you threw to when he wasn't open, because he would come down with the football, and that shows you people like Sidney Rice and Steve Largent show you that speed is overrated at the wide receiver position. How did these guys kept getting open? Well, they knew angles, gaps, and how to go for the football. That's the key.
Preseason All-ACC team announced today, 3 from Clemson on the defensive squad, Vic Beasley, Grady Jarrett, and Stephon Anthony, none on the offensive squad. The offense is Jamison Crowder of Duke, Rashad Green of Florida State, and Devontae Parker of Louisville at receivers. Nick O'Leary of Florida State, tight end. The tackles, Cameron Irving of Florida State and Sean Hickey of Syracuse. I'll give you the rest in a moment, and we'll get to your calls.
Amphetamines. At Louisville. I just figured you mentioned him. The CBS dropped him. Is that right? Good old EC. Stand by, guys.
Josh Harvey Clemens was the other
Oh, okay.
Georgia player. And happy birthday to Eldon Campbell. Former Tiger turns 46 today. All right, the rest of that ACC offense, the guards are Trey Jackson of Florida State and Laken Tomlinson of Duke. The center is Andy Gallick of Boston College. Jameis Winston, the quarterback. Duke Johnson of Miami. Carlos Williams of Florida State, the backs. The rest of the defense, besides the Tigers, Mario Edwards of Florida State, Luther Matty of Virginia Tech. He's a defensive tackle. Denzel Perryman of Miami and Kelby Brown of Duke are the other two linebackers. The defensive backs, Kendall Fuller, Virginia Tech, P.J. Williams, Florida State, Anthony Harris, Virginia, and Jeremy Cash from Duke. Specialist Roberto Aguayo, Florida State, A.J. Hughes of Virginia Tech. He's the punter. Aguayo's that place carrier that was so great last year. And the specialist Ryan Switzer from North Carolina. Strange to see no offensive players from Clemson on the preseason All-ACC first team. Just tells you how much talent they lost and how much they have to prove to people again that they do have talent on the offense. To your phone calls we go, 800-956-7266. Over to Augusta, and we welcome John into Sports Talk tonight. Hi, John. Welcome in.
Awesome. I wanted to tell you it was Lowndes County product 5-star recruit Josh Harvey Clemens that went to Louisville with Todd Grantham. But here's what I want you guys to understand, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Do you realize we're in a 12-year, 4-team, we're locked into a 12-year, 4-team playoff deal? And here's what I think happened, and here's my opinion. Delaney from the Big Ten, who, by the way, is a Rose Bowl commissioner, is on the Rose Bowl committee as well, has guaranteed that with the 5 power conferences with only 4 spots, I think he guaranteed that there will not be a multiple conference team in, and also he'll get a Big Ten representative every year.
And how will he do this?
Well, the people who set it up is the Big Ten. You actually think they're going to be left out. The SEC, you think, gets a winner. Are you going to leave out a West Coast representative like a Stanford, Oregon, or a UCLA or USC? No.
Well, if they're not ranked high enough, I mean, I'm sure they would love to have a West. In an ideal world, they would have a team from the Midwest, a team from the South, a team from the East, a team from the West. But I mean, the bottom line is, if Southern Cal is ranked 15th in the country, they're not going to go, oh, we got to put them in.
I
Or
can't
Ohio State.
wait to watch you
Did you
squirm.
hear Hiccup's
You act
last,
like
I
Hiccup's
can't
last
wait to
statement?
watch you squirm.
It's going to be better than the
sweat.
2 team. I'm not squirming at all.
Squirming and
Did you
sweating.
hear Hiccup's
How will I squirm and
last statement?
sweat? Well, I mean, why
Did
do you
you
think
hear
I'm going to squirm and sweat over a playoff? I mean,
Go ahead,
Did you
sir.
hear
I'm sorry.
Hickok's last statement? Did you hear Hickok's last statement at SEC Media Days? He said the magic word, conference champion.
No,
That kills us, though.
no. There are no automatics.
Yeah, he said no conference
No,
champion.
there are no automatics. Now you might be confused. I'm not sure. There are no automatics. You win a conference championship, that doesn't get you in. Everybody is they're free agents in front of the committee, and their goal is to pick the 4 best teams, regardless of conference affiliation, championships.
yeah,
None
if
of that.
Duke would have upset Florida State, they would not have been in the 4-team playoff.
Be right back.
Stand by.
back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, all across the state. Your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. Your most informed, most intelligent, most handsomely delivered word in sports, at least what I'm talking. Joined by Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes and the state man Graham Pope. 800-956-7266, the number. A couple of more notes and we'll get back to your phone calls. The Panthers today signed guard Fernando Velasco and center Kevin Matthews, and they waived center Jared Wheeler and linebacker Billy Boyko. Velasco started 11 games at center for the Steelers last season before suffering an Achilles injury. The Southern Conference preseason coaches poll, Chattanooga picked number 1, Furman and Sanford tied for 2nd, then Wofford, Western, Citadel, and then Mercer and VMI tied for 7th. The media, they have Chattanooga 1, Furman 2, Sanford 3, Wofford 4, Western, the Citadel, Mercer, and VMI. The Citadel, by the way, on their helmets this year, down on the back, just above the collar, on each player, they're going to have the name of that player's company that he is part of in the Corps of Cadets. So that's kind of neat. Each player will have the company from the Corps of Cadets that he is a part of on his helmet. So that's kind of nice to see. A couple of basketball coaches in our state in the news. A second investigation has been ordered by the president at the College of Charleston into Coach Doug Wojcik based on new allegations of a physical confrontation and verbal abuse. This being reported by the Post and Courier. More trouble for the coach. It appears they're just trying to find as much information new that they can so they can fire him with cause after suspending him after the initial investigation. Just a matter of time there. Meantime, Converse looking for a new women's head coach after Kay Waldrop resigned today after being accused of shoplifting. She was ticketed, according to the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office, after deputies were called to Kohl's in Spartanburg, and Waldrop and another suspect, Ricky Dean Ponder, were held by security as they were trying to leave with around $500 in perfume and shoes. So she has resigned, came there in 2012. All right, back to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. Is that right? Okay, a little early in the program because we don't like to bring this kind of stuff on the air until after the children go to bed. But we'll try and squeeze it in now. Ladies and gentlemen, we do travel down to Charleston. Well, we welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the bad boy by the bay, the ninja of the night, the pontiff of the port city, and the coach in waiting at the College of Charleston, and maybe Converse. Maybe he'd rather coach the women. It's not Jim Rome. He's busy. It's J. Rome.
Hey, Phil.
Yes, Jerome.
Perfume and shoes. I'm down with that.
Well, listen, if you go coach there, maybe in your contract you can ask for all the perfume that they can give you. A shopping spree at Kohl's.
What's it going to take to find this bozo at the College of Charleston? Huh? Beating up your players? Look, okay, cussing people out and calling them names and tell them, hey, go stand in the middle of the street and let a bop hit you. That ain't enough. But now you're beating your players up. What's it going to take? Maybe Canterbury's mother was right. He is Mike Rice personified, huh?
Ooh, on steroids, apparently. The thing that would get me, and I think you guys talked about this while I was gone on vacation, but the part where he talked about the diploma at the College of Charleston.
Oh, yeah, that'll get you fired. Jerome, that's it for me.
Yeah, that would have been it right there. But you know what they're doing? Again, they have to come up with something new because they've already punished him once with a suspension, so they have got to find a way to fire him with cause so they don't have to pay off the $1.2 million that he would be owed. And this is what they're investigating now. Apparently, this is opening the door for them to investigate that and make that move.
I have to say something about Mark Rick of Georgia. He is just very disappointing to me as a disciplinarian and as a big game coach, okay? He just disappoints me. I mean, as much talent as they get, and always some kind of off-the-field problem, and in the big games, he just comes up small all the time. How does he keep his job?
He wins enough.
Well, yeah, they've had him on the hot
wins,
seat.
but he wins enough.
Yeah, remember he lost to Boise State in the season opener, and they were ready to pack him up, and they won 10 straight. And, heck, they came within a foot of beating Alabama and playing for the national championship potentially a couple of years ago. And here's the thing about the discipline. You can't question the guy being tough on these players when they screw up, because they suspend guys even when a lot of schools probably wouldn't. They go out of the way. They have a very strict drug policy, almost zero tolerance when it comes to getting arrested. But the question I have, at some point during the evaluation process, you have to go, why are you bringing these guys in to begin with? You have a lot of guys that are getting into trouble when they get on campus, so you must be making a mistake somewhere in the evaluation process where you're taking kids that too many kids that are making mistakes.
Phil, may I ask you one more question, please?
One more. You're on a limit. You're on a limit.
Have you gotten your last game Derek Jeter tickets yet, Phil? I wonder how much those will be going for.
Actually, I do have seats right behind home plate. I'll be sitting with the mayor, and we'll be there to catch all the emotion of the moment.
I don't think de Blasio and you would mix very well.
But I can tell you, Jerome, secretly that
I'm sitting with Bloomberg. Anybody who would take a flight into Tel Aviv today just to say, I dare you to shoot me down, is my kind of guy.
No, Cohen actually got an autographed copy of a tape of the New York legendary PA announcer announcing Derek Jeter coming to home plate.
When are they going to play the All-Star game? Because I saw the All-Jeter game last week. I'm ready to see the All-Star game now.
He was the All-Star.
They mentioned it 100 times. Forget Tony Gwynn. Let's just talk about Derek Jeter.
Well, that's the way it should have been. I mean, Derek Jeter
shouldn't have talked about Tony Gwynn.
The living legend. Didn't want to take away from Jeter's moment.
Obviously not. You don't want to take away from Jeter's last game and the All-Star game.
Thank you, Jerome. Good hearing from you. Let's go to Dave in Aiken. Hi, Dave, and welcome to Sports Talk tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for taking my call.
Certainly.
A couple of things to clear up. Jonathan Taylor, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports this morning on their website or their news that he is a third-string nose guard. He's not a starter. You acknowledged that he was a starter, but they're saying he was third team, not a starter. And then the other thing on the recruit that was there last week that was apparently accused of stealing some stuff from a dorm room, they report him as being Darnell Solomon. And he, as far as, their evaluation process at Athens, they list him in the Atlanta paper. They report his name, and they say that he has he's a 5-star recruit, and he's got offers from, and they list Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Florida State, LSU, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and South Carolina. So if Georgia's doing such a bad job of analyzing these players, Georgia recruits the same players that Carolina and Clemson and Florida, Florida State, and Alabama and Auburn recruit. They're all recruiting 4- and 5-star players.
But why do so many of them run afoul of the law in Athens? I mean, honestly, Clemson and South Carolina last few years been pretty quiet on the police blotter front for those two. You don't hear of their guys being arrested much anymore.
Everybody has a few, but Georgia, I mean, that they just are kind of the butt of the joke now. Well, it's a summer. Georgia's getting players
They're
arrested.
The new Tennessee when it comes to this stuff.
Right, and Mark Richt is a first-class guy. I mean, Mark Richt is as good as they come.
And you're right about Taylor. He is listed third string on their defense, but he was going to play a lot. He played a lot last year. And he's 6'4", 330 pounds. You don't think they were going to run him out there in various situations? That's a pretty significant loss, if you ask me.
Jeff Schultz said in his column, he said dumb kid, quote, dumb kids are not a Georgia football problem. Dumb kids are everybody's problem. He said, without much effort, I found over a dozen arrests in major college programs in just the past 2 weeks. And then he started listing all those, including a Florida State running back, 2 Miami linebackers, West Virginia running back, Texas A&M running back, Baylor lineman, Bowling Green running back, and so on and so on.
Yeah, you're right. It's not limited to Georgia, but they're a high-profile program, and this is happening repeatedly. Thanks for the call.
For the record, he played in 10 games, had 9 tackles. So I wouldn't necessarily call that played a lot, but, I mean, he was probably going to play a little more this year. It just says played in 10 games, he had 9 tackles. Yeah, Nordic gods ran afoul in Nazi Germany. Probably sneezed on him.
Time for our Braves report starring Mike Morgan. Braves take it on the chin again last night from the Marlins. They just have a hard time with certain teams, and right now it's the Marlins giving them fits. What's the review from last night, Mike?
Well, like an Adam Sandler movie, it's bad. In both games, they were bad. And the first night, it was a situation where the Braves just didn't hit, which has been a common theme against the Marlins over the years. And then last night, Mike Minor, just another poor outing. And you have to start wondering how much longer can the Braves afford to go with Mike Minor before maybe trying something different, because he's just not hitting his spots at all. His pitches are fat. He's become very hittable. Left-handers are killing the southpaw this year, and that trend just continued last night.
Do you see anything in his motion at all? It doesn't seem any different. It's almost like he's lost it as far as his grip, his control. He even said last night he just could not find the corners at all.
Yeah, he can't find the corners, and then his breaking ball is not breaking. I mean, he's throwing some real fat pitches. He's never been an overpowering guy, so he relies on location with his fastball. He relies on his breaking pitches to do just that, break, and they're not doing it. If you look at some of the highlights of those hits last night, you see the attempt to throw a breaking ball, and it just stays right up. Everything is up, up, up. And then when he throws the fastball, forget about the corners, he's throwing it right in the happy zone, and he's been doing that now for much of the year, and teams have been punishing him because of it. So at this point, again, he's healthy. He's just been ineffective. It's hard to fathom why all of a sudden that is, because he's been very good the last couple of years as a Braves starter.
With your Adam Sandler shot, I'm going to go home and burn my Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison DVDs.
That was the last good movie he had. Was
Thanks
Happy
a lot,
Gilmore.
Mike. Yeah, no, I won't watch Spanglish tonight with a lady. Evan Gattis, is it just a timing thing with him now, or is he still battling that back?
Well, I think it's a timing thing more than anything else. I think they took every last precaution to make sure that he was healthy before they cleared him. He went down to Gwinnett for a 4-game rehab assignment, got plenty of at-bats in there, was not particularly effective, but again, the main point of that exercise was to make sure he was without pain, and the reviews were he was without pain. So I think for Evan Gattis, it's still going to be a matter of getting back into the fold and feeling comfortable, but as of right now, I think the back is fine.
And a roster move today, right-hander Anthony Bavaro on paternity leave. When's he due?
Boy.
Yeah.
You're bringing the A material tonight.
Yeah, I'm just warming you up for Brett Favre tomorrow night. I want you at your best.
Yes, well, my one-liners will cease to exist because of ones just like that. Actually,
Yeah.
no, he's. I thought you were going to ask me about Gus Schlosser, the guy they actually brought up. Say that name 5 times real fast and see if you.
All right, stand by. Gus Schlosser,
Okay.
Gus Schlosser, Gus Schlosser, Gus Schlosser, Gus Schlosser.
Not too bad.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad. I thought you might commit an FCC violation.
No, I was very careful there. I was very careful there. But anyway, tell us about him and when's Anthony coming back?
Well, I don't have an answer for you in terms of the paternity leave. I don't know about the I don't know exactly how long that process is going to take. I wouldn't imagine very long, but having never had children, I just couldn't say for certain. But for Schlosser,
So we all say thank God for that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to add to the human race by subtraction. But for Schlosser, he's a guy that's been very effective in AAA, and this is actually, I believe, his 3rd time now that he's had a chance to at least have a cup of coffee with the big team. Good pitcher, really solid guy. They've got a couple of guys, Schlosser and Cody Martin, another name you'll hear about in the coming weeks, months, what have you, that's been pitching very well at AAA. So it's a guy that can certainly be a good stopgap at this moment in time.
Mike, as always, we thank you, and we'll see you in Columbia tomorrow night at the Brett Favre fantastic gathering at the Township.
The Township. Looking forward to it. You guys going to be set up there?
We plan to.
Yes, sir.
All right. Fantastic. We'll see you then.
If they let us in the back door. Thank you so much. Other baseball today, Mets beat Seattle 3-2. Tigers over Arizona 11-5. Oh, the Braves have a chance to pick up a game on the Nationals. They lose to Colorado 6-4. KC over the White Sox 2-1. Milwaukee beat Cincy 5-1. Minnesota over Cleveland 3-1. And our Braves report here on Sports Talk brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals, and by Whit Suber of Home Shop Realty, where you pay less for more. Make sure you call 803-518-3888. Experience the Home Shop difference. Got an update on that Doug Wojcik story out of Charleston. Coming up, we got some football coaches to hear from, and more of your calls. We'll be right back. All right, we thank Mike Morgan for being with us. And by the way, if you've never met Mike, seen him in person, and talked to him, you can do that tomorrow night. Of course, the big attraction is not Mike. It's Brett Favre, Township Auditorium in Columbia on Taylor Street. Activities begin at 5:30, silent auction and a live auction. And they'll have the one-man band Elliott and the Untouchables there playing. And, of course, Brett Favre is going to sit down with Mike in front of everybody and have a conversation. They're going to talk, no doubt, about his various careers and what he's doing now. Then they're going to open it up to questions from the fans. So it's an evening with Brett Favre. You can still get tickets at Ticketmaster.com or 800-745-3400. You can go to Facebook.com/Favre Columbia 14. That's spelled Favre. Brett Favre. One of the most, well, besides the fact he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time, he's certainly one of the most interesting
Notice you didn't
athletes.
say bar none this time.
Well, it's already went through that last night. But he's also one of the most interesting athletes of the modern era when you think about it. You know, everything that the type of player he was from a skill standpoint, the emotional side of it, just a very interesting individual. So if you want to see and hear Brett Favre in person tomorrow night, and he doesn't do very many public appearances. Maybe soon he'll make that public appearance back at Lambeau when they retire number 4. You know that's coming soon.
This season, right?
I don't think anything's been formally announced yet, has it?
I thought they were bringing him back this season.
I'll have to check.
I saw an interview where he was saying he wasn't worried about getting booed, and why would they boo him at Lambeau? I don't get that.
No, they won't.
I mean, it was time. It was a changing of the guard, but
we won't. I mean, do that.
You say he's a top 5 quarterback, so you don't think your boy Aaron Rodgers is A-Rod, who's probably a more talented quarterback, really, in terms of just physical skills, the way he throws the ball, precision passer, than Brett Favre. I mean, Brett Favre was an amazing. I mean, he was a warrior, number one, the way he was tough. Made all those starts. He was a gunslinger. He took a bunch of chances.
Top 5 right now. Aaron Rodgers, top 5 right now. But he's still got a lot of career ahead of him.
Yeah.
So
we'll put a line here. Any successful Green Bay quarterback, put a top 5.
Glenn Dickey, top 5.
Majkowski, top 5.
Majkowski, yeah.
Doug Wojcik, not top 5.
Doug Wojcik is facing some more heat from a former player. Trevante Dixon says he was physically assaulted by Wojcik on 2 occasions during the 2012
One was in Canada,
2013 season. One was in Canada, one was in the Elon game. He is now a player at Francis Marion, and he has lawyered up, by the way. Wojcik is in a lot of trouble.
He said it happened during a game, during an Elon game?
On the bench, apparently, according to the players. There was a little altercation. He was yelling at him and had his fist under his chin.
Wow. We'll be back.
That was every day at daycare for old Poop.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, the Steak Man, Graham Pope, all together once again, 800-956-7266, the number. Jump back on your phone calls in a moment. Tomorrow night we'll be over at the Brett Favre gathering in Columbia. Besides Favre being there, there'll be other football-associated types that we'll have a chance to talk to. Hopefully we'll get Brett Favre. There's no guarantee because he doesn't do many, if any, interviews, and he's just doing a special favor here for Clyde, and I don't know how much he can squeeze out of him on this trip. We shall see. If we get a chance to talk to him, I don't want you guys to embarrass us with your questions, but K-Mac, what would you ask Brett Favre if we have that chance?
What's the latest on James Thompson?
Has he texted Jen Sturger lately?
See, that's what I'm talking about. Now, if we have Brett Favre, so you can't be doing stuff like that. You can't be doing stuff like that now.
Look, I think, as a journalist, you have to be ready to ask difficult questions. And if we get the opportunity tomorrow night, no, I wouldn't ask him that.
Unbelievable.
I would like to ask him because
I'm going to ask him, is there any one throw in your career that you would like to have back?
Well,
several.
I'm sure he would.
No, there's probably a couple
the one against the Eagles?
No doubt about
I think
that.
he'd probably take that
and the
one
one
back.
against New Orleans. And the one against New Orleans.
You mean when he was with the Vikings?
Yes.
Well, that was more of a, that was
he could throw that.
He probably wishes he could actually have that handoff back to Adrian Peterson when Peterson had the dropsies with the fumbles and throwing a couple. Boy, Brett Favre took a beating in that game. That was
the bounty game. As it turned out.
There was a bounty on him, and he took some shots in that game. It was a heck of a football game.
I would certainly like to ask him because it just came up. A guy who, in essence, elongated your career as you returned to the Vikings. Rice retired at 27.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's all kind of good questions we could ask besides what's on K-Mac's mind in the gutter. But you bring up the bounty game, and it's really amazing how much abuse he took because he played behind some porous Packer offensive lines where he was hit a lot. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he left himself open to being hit a lot.
He held the ball a long time.
The ball. One thing he would do, though, if you watched him closely, and maybe this was something that he designed to help protect him, and that was whenever he would throw the ball, if possible, he'd always back up. Mm-hmm. He would be backing away from the oncoming rush to keep guys away from his knees and his ankles. But still, as much as he ran around, he was always exposed to taking that big hit. Pretty incredible that he played as much as he did and through all the pain and the injuries. Back in a moment.
And all jokes aside, that's how he did it. You want to run those coaches here, Corn?
Bobby, Ken Spencer, WHAS 11 in Louisville. With this being
Well, we're excited to be joining a conference that has the reigning national champion and a conference where just about
I think one of the things that we need to learn to get back to where we want to be is to how to handle the spotlight and the expectations, and it's part of who we are and it's part of where we want to go. And
Don't forget that the birds fly south. Yeah, it's for a violation of the NFL's substance abuse policy. Think about it, you got Justin Blackman dealing with all his crap. Right. Now you got Ace. Stand by.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, as we cruise through a Wednesday night, get through the rest of this week. Also, tomorrow, we mentioned the Brett Favre deal. Steve Spurrier will be playing golf with his favorite people. That would be the people in the media and others.
Y'all media boys.
Yep. Teeing it up at Cobblestone Park tomorrow morning at around 8:30. We'll be there for that because A, golf is what we do, and B, he'll be talking to the media around 12:30, previewing the season, answering questions, and we'll have that for you on the website tomorrow afternoon, sportstalksc.com, and on Sports Talk tomorrow night. So that's something else to look forward to. And then coming up next week, we've got the Fisher DeBerry gathering of all the coaches on Wednesday night here in downtown Columbia. We'll be there for that. And then Finally, Friday, it all begins. Practice.
You talking about practice, man?
Not a game.
By the way, when you question Spurrier at the golf outing, ask him, what does that push-up on that big ball, what does that do for you?
Push-up on the big ball. I mean, is that one of his workout things?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah. The big question is going to be how many of these freshmen are going to make it on the campus that are still dangling on the vine right now?
Well, he said at Hoover last week that he expected the three defensive backs who had to retake the test. He was expecting all, if not most of them, to make it. Of course, we know Dexter Weidman did not make it, and I believe that's the only ones they're waiting on, those three defensive backs. So we know that Justin Thomas didn't make it. We know Dexter Weidman didn't make it. Dante Sawyer's
but
already in junior
retaking those
college.
tests,
Kalen Ritchie's already in junior
you've got to
college.
get the test back, and
Well,
then
they
you got to
might
get
not
it to
be
the
here in time
clearinghouse,
for the
and
start of practice,
and if
yeah.
you're a freshman, you're going through the start of fall camp. You know this clearinghouse thing. We've seen this play out time and time again. How many days and weeks into games could they potentially be out before they get on campus? And if you miss the preseason camp as a true freshman, it's very difficult to go out there when the season started and you're going week to week and get out there and try to play and be on a high level.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, every day that you miss as a true freshman in practice, it probably sets you back 3 days because you're learning something brand new. So I agree with you. They need to get, and especially at that sensitive position of cornerback, they need these guys in place. It's a shame that Ahmad Christian decided to leave to go pick up his baseball career in junior college somewhere else. I mean, I'm sure for him he feels like he's making the right decision. Baseball maybe will be his future, but he would be penciled in as a starting cornerback the way things worked out with players leaving. But that's the way it is. You leave and you have to replace him with somebody else. All right, the ACC, of course, had media days. ACC kickoff earlier this week. We were there for that. We've heard from a number of the coaches. Got a couple of more that we want to hear from of importance to our audience, especially the Clemson people, because Tigers may face these teams at some point in time. We know they're going to face Louisville, and should they make the championship game, they might face Miami. But we begin with Bobby Petrino at Louisville, back at the place where he really made his name as a football coach, getting a chance to resurrect his career and his reputation on the major college level. We all know what he has gone through in recent years and what he has put his family, his fans, and his schools through in recent years. So he's got a lot of work to do to wash the slate clean and be respected again at a very high level. Winning and winning big will do that for him. And as he said, he's just excited to be back at Louisville. He's very excited about joining the ACC.
We're excited to be joining a conference that has the reigning national champion and a conference where just about every single individual award last year was won by somebody in the ACC. Our expectations are going to be high. I've always believed in that you set expectations high. We have a group of young men that we're coaching that have been playing for a number of years that know how to prepare, that have played in big games, and know how to win. So, we expect to compete for a championship. That's what we want to get done. We do understand that you have to do that on an individual game basis and play one game at a time, focus on that game, and then each game is going to be very, very competitive.
Coach, right here to the right-hand side.
Coach Alex Dodd, Dodd Sports Network, Greenville, South Carolina. First of all, this year, first year in the ACC, and you have to take a very tough road trip to Clemson. What does that mean to the team in preparing for that sort of atmosphere?
I mean, that'll be fun. I think those are the type of games you really look forward to playing in. You look forward to going into a very hostile environment and understand that, it's kind of us against the entire stadium. Although we have had a number of fans back in Louisville that tell me they have tickets and they're going, so we'll probably have a pretty good section there of Louisville fans. But it's certainly a place that I've heard is tough to go in and play at. We'll have our silent cadence ready and have to work hard on that, in camp. And it's not something I think you can do in 1 week. So we'll start preparing for that in the middle of our camp. But it's exciting. I've had the opportunity to coach in a lot of great stadiums, loud stadiums that have been very, hostile environments. And I think it's a great way to build your team and understand that you have to win it as a team.
Also, with the transition, for 50 years, Louisville and Cincinnati had a strong rivalry in the Keg of Nails. What's it going to mean not to have that game anymore?
Yeah, I'd love to play Cincinnati. I enjoyed the rivalry. I enjoyed, going up there and playing. I enjoyed them coming down and playing us. I think it was, a special game every year. We liked carrying the keg home after the game. And, we're going to miss playing them.
Left side here, Coach.
Bob Halliday from Raleigh. Coach, this is your second time at Louisville. How would you compare the talent level as you come in this time versus when you came in the first time?
Well, I think we were. I've been fortunate both times I came to Louisville to follow two really good head coaches that have done a great job in building the program. I felt when I got there with John L. that the program was in great shape, and all I had to do is take it to the next level. Coming in and following Charlie, he's done a great job of recruiting and teaching the kids how to work hard and win games. We do lose some really good players. You know, there's 3 first-round draft picks that we lose off that team. But we definitely have some really good players coming back and have a good nucleus of talent to be able to go in and compete right away. And obviously moving into the ACC is taking it to a new level.
Coach right side over here, third row.
Hi, Coach. Morgan Ammons from Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. What are your thoughts about facing Syracuse this year?
Well, I think it'll be fun to go back up to Syracuse and play again. You know, it's a Friday night game, which is always interesting. But we had a good rivalry going with Syracuse before when we played them in the Big East. And I actually played them my first year at Louisville when they were in the Big East and we were in Conference USA. So it's a fun place to go play. I always like playing inside. I think you don't have to worry about the wind or rain, and you can throw the ball around real well inside. So it'll be a fun game to play.
That young lady, obviously working for Time Warner News out of Syracuse, sat in the coach's interview room there the entire afternoon, and she asked each coach the same question if they were on Syracuse schedule, and that was, how do you feel about playing Syracuse this year? If they were coming up to the Carrier Dome, it was, how do you feel about coming up and playing in the Dome? But if they were going to play, if they're just going to play Syracuse, it's how do you feel about playing Syracuse this year? She asked every coach who's on.
Well, now she has for every week of the season, she can go to her little sot, and she'll be like, here's what Bobby Petrino thinks about playing these.
Doing her job. She's doing her job.
You're just getting on. I think you're getting on to her because you're sexist. You always go after female reporters.
I am sexy.
Always.
I am sexy, not sexist. There's a difference. I'm sexy.
There is a difference.
Not sexist.
There is a difference.
If you can't see
very
the sexy,
clear.
If you can't see the
Very
sexy
clear in
part
this
of me,
case.
then you got a problem. All right. You confuse.
Then consider me problem-ridden.
If you
infested with problem. I'm neck deep in problem right now.
If you confuse my sexiness with being sexist, then you got a problem.
Ist.
Number 1 receiver in the country, boy.
Get your sexy out. 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 I'm bringing sexy back.
Yeah, that's right. That's my
Where
theme
did that
song
come
right there.
from?
What's the name of that song, Steakman? That's my new theme song.
There's your boy, what is it, Justin Timberlake, man, JT with Bringing Sexy Back.
Yeah, that's me. All over me. All right, coming up, we're going to hear from Al Golden at Miami. Happy to be free of the NCAA and able to recruit full classes. And you know what? They're going to get back to where they were. He's obviously a very good coach, and down in South Florida, able to get many outstanding players. By the way, how about this story out of LSU? Announced, well, it wasn't announced, reported by Pete Russell of the coachingsearch.com. LSU has hired Arizona graduate assistant Sean Patterson to be a football coaching intern, Sean Patterson Jr. Now, you might not make a whole lot of that. However, he is the brother of Shea Patterson from Shreveport, who is one of the nation's top quarterback recruits in 2016, currently committed to Arizona. But LSU offered him a scholarship Saturday. He's got more than 40, including Texas and Alabama. Sean Patterson also helped Arizona secure commitments from 3 other Louisiana prospects. Now, would a program like LSU need to go hire the brother of a top recruit to recruit that top recruit? Isn't LSU above that?
No.
Isn't less? No, seriously. This is aren't they bigger than having to reach, or is this just CYA doing everything that you think you need to do to get the player?
I think maybe his brother has the talent. But yeah, I think they're doing everything because
Well, maybe that's the shame of it. Maybe Sean Patterson Jr. is an excellent potential football coach, and Les Miles sees something in that, but nobody's going to believe that.
Yeah, because what if the kid doesn't go there?
Yeah.
I mean, if you hire a guy on your staff, you better be prepared to be stuck with him for however long, because if the kid doesn't go there and you fire him right after, people are going to really be
No,
on
he's
to
a
you.
coaching intern.
Yeah.
He's a
But
football
it'll be
coaching
interesting to
intern.
see what sort of things that Rich Rod did in his, I guess, his contacts of being at Tulane, what he did to secure the kid going out to Arizona.
Well, the kid, he goes to, he lives in Shreveport, but I mean, he's committed to Rich Rod, and if you're a throwing quarterback and a mobile quarterback, you got a chance to go play for Rich Rodriguez in that offense and maybe do some great things out in Arizona. That'd be kind of hard to walk away from. But if your brother's got a job at LSU now and he says, hey, I need you to come to LSU, it's going to help my career, well, that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid.
Yeah, and also he probably give the line that they gave Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was committed to Oregon. Look, son, you're going to be in Texas. You need to play in Texas.
Here's that story on Darnell Solomon, the caller mentioned. Highly recruited prospect was at Georgia's Dog Night this past weekend. A wide receiver from Florida identified as the suspect accused of entering the unlocked suite of 2 female students in Busby Hall Saturday morning and stealing an iPhone and a wallet containing cash and credit cards. His name was listed on UGA's daily police activity log this morning. His coach at the high school said he is innocent. When the facts in the case come out, he said, we're all sure Darnell Solomon will be cleared of all charges. And we'll be right back.
Pretty stupid, Corn. Pretty stupid. Complete silence. Dump and go, brother. If you guys got to dump me for $1 million, I'll understand, man. No hard feelings. Come on out west now, you hear? Stand by.
We got recruiting coming up for you in a little bit. Also, going to hear from Al Golden from Miami here in just a moment. There's more news coming out of Charleston, K-Mac, on Doug Wojcik.
Yeah, off the postandcourier.com, our buddy Andrew Miller has been reporting this. Well, he's been all over this story along with the columnist down there, Gene Sapikoff. But through his attorney, Doug Wojcik is vehemently denying these allegations that he had a physical altercation with Trevante Dixon and also was throwing basketballs violently at players during practice. Wojcik's attorney is Scott Thompson. He says Coach Wojcik's practices have always been open to the public and well attended by college administrators and the public, and they've been videotaped. Thompson said of the basketball throwing allegations, there's no credible corroboration for the young man's claim, and video evidence of Coach Wojcik's practices will refute his allegation. End of quote.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, that story has certainly turned things upside down for the College of Charleston basketball program, a once very proud basketball program under John Kress. Even Tom Harrion went in there and had success, but they hated him. And so they ran him out, and then they kind of floundered around there a little bit, landed on Bobby Crimmins, and Crimmins restored the image and the fun and the interest in the College of Charleston program. But now they're in disarray. Number one, I think, being in the league they're in, not playing, not leaving the Southern Conference. I know they don't play Charleston Southern, and I guess they still play the Citadel, but not playing the locals in meaningful league games like they used to. I think that diminishes the interest some. And I don't know what their attendance was like this year. Go back and look. But I don't know that College of Charleston basketball right now carries the buzz around the state that it did for many, many years.
No, it isn't. And it's hard. When a guy like Kress leaves, and he's a legend, the program either has a seamless type of transition or it doesn't. And I guess the most seamless we've seen, and even though they had their hiccup because they were denied playing in the tournament one year, is Calhoun leaving and then Kevin Ollie coming in there to Connecticut, or years ago Judd Heathcote leaving after the Magic years and then some young assistant moving in who by the name of Tom Izzo.
If they
Michigan
make a
State.
change, knowing that Calhoun lives right there,
yes,
would you go to Jim Calhoun and say, "Hey, would you take the program for a year and kind of restore
is
things?"
he the guy though? I mean, let's face it.
Oh, he knows the
wasn't
guy.
even able to go to the NCAA tournament at the end of the Jim Calhoun tenure because things got so bad, and that was the problem. I mean, Charleston wanted to get more of a disciplinarian because Bobby Crimmins is a great coach, but he has a laid-back coaching style and approach with the players, and they went from one extreme all the way to another extreme. But Charleston knew what they were getting when they hired that. That's what I don't understand. That's why I think Wojcik does have a pretty compelling case here. A, you guys knew what you were getting when you were hiring me. B, all this stuff came to light, and you guys decided to suspend me for a month without pay, and now you're trying to come back in here and maybe gin up some charges to get me out the door. Well, you're going to have to pay. I mean, everybody knows that he's not going to coach again. I mean, nobody thinks he's going to survive this. The question is, when is he going to be fired, and how much is Charleston going to have to pay? But right now, they are in the equivalent of the death penalty. They can't recruit anybody now because who's going to sign with the College of Charleston? What high school kid worth his weight in salt is going to sign with the Cougars right now? Who are they going to hire if they have to part with this guy? They're going to have an assistant for a season. So you're going to have a whole nother lost season. And a once great program, one of I mean, they were up there with like Gonzaga with programs that you said, these are great mid-major programs. Now they're a has-been. I mean, I hate to say it. That pains me to say it, but that program has zero credibility. The College of Charleston is not known as a basketball school.
That's your half alma mater.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think even
until they kicked you out.
One of the many.
Even if he's not the man, I would give Jim Calhoun a call because, first of all, he cut his teeth a lot in the CAA when I think he was at Northeastern as a head coach in Boston. He may not be the guy, but he may know the guy or suggest some people they need to call.
All right, back to football, and Al Golden has Miami, at least in terms of the preseason poll, back on top in the ACC's Coastal Division. Can they stay there? Can they win the division and get to the championship game, maybe to face Florida State, maybe to face Clemson, maybe to face somebody else? Who knows? Duke thinks they're going to be right back up there. I think North Carolina will provide a stout challenge as well. Golden says in his comments at ACC kickoff earlier this week, he talked about restoring the pride and dignity and the winning in the Miami program.
I think one of the things that we need to learn to get back to where we want to be is to how to handle the spotlight and the expectations. And it's part of who we are, and it's part of where we want to go. And the ascension that we made last year, if you look back, I'm sure there's a lot of guys on our team. That was the first time they'd been in that situation, that platform, if you will. Well, we were prohibited from going to the bowl game the previous 2 years and the ACC championship the previous year. And, so I think our guys learned a lot from that. And that's something that we have to carry forward now. And then they have to make sure they hand that down to the young kids coming in. Or what does it take to stay in the bunker, to ignore the noise and just focus on your one game, one play, one day. And they're all one-game seasons.
Coach will stay right here.
Coach Dan Storr, Broadcast Media. Duke Johnson has come out and said, that this is his team. He's obviously very passionate about what Miami is trying to become again. What can you say about his leadership and your definition of what Miami football needs to be at this point?
Yeah, I think it's great to hear Duke, be so emphatic about it. But more importantly, to see him back it up with what he's done in this offseason. When he left the game in Tallahassee, he was 193 pounds, and he's 209 pounds right now. And he ran the fastest time that he's run as a Miami Hurricane last week. So he's going to be a stronger, more durable, and certainly a more mentally tough player. And he kind of leads individually. He's not a guy that's going to get up in front of the whole team, but he's done a really good job of mentoring certain guys and talking to them individually, and Joe Yerby for one. And we're excited about about Duke and what he's meant to our program, coming when he did, staying, and then obviously setting a standard now. So he's one of the guys that personify what a Miami Hurricane is.
Sitting between the tripods here.
Coach, Mark Larson, Time Warner Cable News, Syracuse. Talked to some of your players yesterday about going from good to great, and they talked about getting the U back. How do you balance, wanting to get the U back, with not maybe going to the extreme of the swagger and the, what I mean, the bad stuff that went with the U?
Yeah, I think again, I think we all say we want to bring it back. I don't think there's any question about it, but how we want to do it is our own identity. So, clearly there's a standard of excellence at the University of Miami that was set forth by the previous teams and players, and you're held to that standard, which we've all accepted by going to the University of Miami. And I think the one thing I think that's different about this team, and I don't know maybe if it was lost in translation yesterday, is that they believe in who they are. So they certainly respect the past, but they want to represent who they are and their identity as a football team. And there's been nothing about the 2014 team that even resembles the 2013 team. They want it to be their own team, have their own leadership, and really move forward. And since January 12th, when we reconvened, we've seen that. And so I'm excited about these guys saying, okay, let's go out and make our own identity as opposed to relying on something that happened quite a while ago.
There you go, Al Golden from Miami, and he's hopeful that the media's got it right as far as the Coastal is concerned, with the Hurricanes on top. Recruiting coming up in a moment.
I can see it now. That half swing. Pretty amazing how much power he still generates with a half swing. Makes you wonder how far you hit it if you actually put a full move on into it, You talk about a dude that got every ounce out of every hack. Throw his whole gut into it and everything. And you remember he signed that massive contract with the Angels when they moved over to Anaheim from California. blew out his ankle or something. Sure that had nothing to do with the donuts. By donuts, I don't mean bat weights, by the way. I'm talking about them Krispy Kremes, dog. All right, stand by, stand by.
Okay, let's get to the recruiting news for tonight. And some good news for Clemson. Paul Strelo, TigerIllustrated.com, reporting that C.J. Fuller, signee, running back from Easley, will join the team July 31st. This coming from his coach, Grayson Howell. Also, Fuller tweeted out something earlier today about this news. He was going to Gray Shirt, but apparently a spot opened up with Jalon Oglesby headed to a prep school. Now, I guess that's official because on Monday, Dabo Swinney said that situation was still pending. They were still waiting on a test score to come back in, but apparently either it's not pending any longer or it's solid enough that they can make this move and have Fuller come in with the class. So he is ready to go, and he'll report with the team on July 31st. USC looking to add more to its defensive back group 2015. Very much interested in Carlton Davis of Miami, coming in Saturday with his cleats if needed for the Gamecock Showcase Camp. Not sure he's going to work out, but he'll have them with him. He's going to Ohio State on Friday, his head coach traveling with him. He has 6 schools left on the list: USC, Ohio State, Miami, Florida, Alabama, Notre Dame. No favorite at this point. USC's been recruiting him hard for months, he says. He remains in regular contact with secondary coach Grady Brown. He likes the program and the opportunity for him to come in and get some playing time at an SEC school. And he said it's an opportunity he's willing to take. And USC's recruiting him as a corner. Now, he feels Miami's been on him the hardest, trying to keep him at home, but he says he doesn't mind leaving home. He said it would be a good opportunity to see different things in the world and experience new things. He did grow up a Hurricane fan. He's been to Florida. He's been to Miami this summer. He's got August 12th for an announcement date that he will make his announcement on a local radio show in South Florida. As he begins the task of making his decision, he said he'll weigh several factors from what he's experienced on the various campuses. A great vibe, a good environment, and playing time, he said, are all the major factors he'll be considering. First trip for him to USC. Offensive lineman Jalen Merrick of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, getting close on a decision, has not identified a date for an announcement. Down to USC, Florida, Florida State, Miami, according to a recent tweet. He visited USC in June, has a lot of positive feelings about the Gamecocks from that. He said, on one visit alone, South Carolina became one of my favorites. I fell in love with the campus, the facilities, and everything that it has to offer. He was at Florida State last week for a camp. He went to Miami last month, and he plans to be at Florida Friday for Friday Night Lights. Linebacker Ricky DeBerry from Richmond, a Clemson target, visiting Virginia today, may still be there. Basketball, Oklahoma State, the latest big-time program to make an offer to 6'5" Tevin Mack of Dreer, who has seen his recruiting value rise with a strong showing this month at camps and tournaments. Other new offers include Auburn, VCU, Wake Forest, East Carolina, Mississippi State, and he says he's just been playing harder and being a leader With Seventh Woods out with a wrist injury on his team, he said he had to play the point position, which he doesn't normally play, but he jumped up and became more of a leader. And it's been a pleasure for him, he said, to receive these new offers, evidence that his hard work is paying off. Clemson has been one of his longtime offers. He was in touch with the Tigers on Tuesday, and they told him they'll be at all his games next weekend in North Carolina. He's also in touch with USC. The Gamecocks have not yet offered. He's optimistic they will. Says he talks to Frank Martin and the Gamecocks a lot, and as he put it, they have a good understanding. He plans to visit Clemson and USC again this summer. He also plans to visit Wake Forest in August. As for a decision time frame, he does not plan to sign in November, and he wants to make his decision between December and February, and right now he does not have a favorite. And in baseball, Clemson picked up another commitment for their 2015 class last night. It's a hard thrower from Georgia. Zach Goodman from Kennesaw, Georgia, commits to the Tigers for 2015. His fastball, according to reports, has topped off at 91 miles an hour. He is the 10th commitment for Clemson's 2015 class. He joins his teammate, right-hander Riley Gilliam, as a Clemson commitment. So there you go in recruiting us. K-Mac, you got something you want to add?
I'm going to pass on recruiting.
Well, you can report on the recruits we've been following on Twitter that you're deleting since they're going somewhere else.
I am. I'm trying to clean up the at SportsTalk SC Twitter timeline, which
can you tell me a couple that you've deleted so far?
Kobe McCrary's gone. See you, Kobe.
Cousin of yours, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only one McCrary on this Twitter feed.
We'll hit a break. We'll be right back.
I ain't got no time for the heartstrings thing. It's gotten old. Stand by.
All right, coming up on the end, boy, this program has just flown by. We thank you for being with us tonight. Make sure you're with us tomorrow night. We'll be over at the Brett Favre gathering. We'll have whatever we can have for you from there. Also, Steve Spurrier on the program tomorrow night. So we look forward to what should be a terrific night of sports talk.
Make sure
tomorrow
you
night.
bring your handkerchief with you.
Yes, it could be a little emotional for me.
Wipe your
because
eyes, wipe the drool
Can't
from
be
your mouth.
this fanboy while
That's
you're
one
there.
of my man crushes right there. Now, if I wish somebody could get Larry Bird to come to Columbia. That would be top dog for me personally, because I am Larry Bird's number one. I'm like that psycho in the movie, the number one fan. I'm like Larry Bird's
Well,
number one fan.
you'll probably see Larry in Charlotte.
You
He'll
do have
probably
that
come
Kathy
down to
Bates
see
look to
Lance
you.
Stevenson.
This is true. Let's see what else we want to mention here before we leave you tonight. A couple of other notes that we haven't. Oh, Bob Stoops. How about old Bob Stoops? Is there more jabbing going on between coaches this year than before?
Well, Bob Stoops has been poking the SEC. That's his annual pastime now.
Called
it's his
it
favorite
the,
thing. Some people golf.
Yeah.
Some people fish. Bob Stoops just pokes a stick at the SEC.
Here's what he's saying now. Of course, he's firing back at Nick Saban. Nick Saban's everybody's punching bag these days. Going back to when Oklahoma beat them 45-31 in the Sugar Bowl last year, Saban saying this week his players had struggled to motivate themselves for their consolation game. And Stoops had a little something to say about that. He said, expanding on his skepticism for the consolation game comment, Stoops said, quote, "Didn't look like Alabama wasn't motivated first series. They looked ready to play. Everyone thought they would rout us." In response to coaches like, say, Saban, again, complaining that up-tempo, no-huddle offenses restrict the impact of defensive coaches, Stoops said all those geniuses can adapt to a faster pace. Stoops rattled off Texas A&M's 2014 non-conference schedule, Lamar, Rice, SMU, and ULM, and said those are all a bunch of toughies.
Tongue-in-cheek, I'm sure.
So anyway, he's just kind of hammering away.
Good for you. I mean, he's just kind of like, I don't care anymore. Hey, Dorial Beckham Green, I'll take him. Who cares how many times he's been arrested 10 times this year?
But Steve,
bring the paddy wagon over here to Norman.
You get the point where Steve is poking you with a stick, whereas your boy from Oklahoma he's using a knife. He's really
but he's good friends with Spurrier, so he's learned from the best and how to stick it to opposing coaches in a sort of a friendly, not so friendly manner.
Well, and he won the big game, and he has the bragging rights. That was a
and
big
Alabama
win for
has proven
big game
with
Bob.
Utah and Oklahoma that if they're not playing for the national title, the Sugar Bowl doesn't mean anything to them.
All right, that's going to do it. Thank you, Steak Man. Great job, as always, best in the business. K-Mac, Crow, have a great night. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bar none.
And join us tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. Good night.
Don't worry about that. Funny is that's actually BITB. The initials are on my chef coats.